Okay, let's dive right into this. Anatomy of a Nightmare. Today, we're going to deconstruct a piece of microfiction that, man, it just packs a massive amount of psychological terror into a handful of sentences. It's honestly fascinating how perfect pacing and structural beats can actively manipulate our deepest, most primal fears, and do it without wasting a single word.
But before we break down the text, I've got to ask you something kind of deeply personal. Do you trust your reflection? No, really, think about that for a second. When you look in the mirror, you expect a perfect, instantaneous echo of your own reality, right? It's like this fundamental unspoken contract our brains have with the physics of light. But what if that contract was suddenly broken? I want you to keep that highly unsettling thought right at the front of your mind as we get into this.
To really understand why this piece is so effective, we're going to look at three distinct beats of terror. Beat 1, the scene. Beat 2, the story. And Beat 3, the cliffhanger. We're essentially doing a chronological autopsy of this horror.
Let's move to part 1 and see how this builds. Setting the mundane scene, the vulnerability of routine. You see, to make the impossible frightening, you first have to establish something completely normal. The text gives us this exact, incredibly brief setup. It reads, "A person is brushing their teeth late at night." That's it. That is the entire scene. But look at how much heavy narrative lifting that single sentence is actually doing. Brushing your teeth is a universal, unavoidable daily routine. It's totally autopilot. When we do it late at night, we're tired, our mental guard is completely down, and we're usually all alone in a small, enclosed room. This establishes a baseline of absolute vulnerability that connects directly to your own daily reality. I mean, you have literally been this person thousands of times.
On to part 2, the split-second disconnect, the uncanny shift.
Now, what's really interesting here is that this is the precise moment the mundane turns uncanny. The reality we just carefully established, it completely fractures. The text breaks this escalating horror down into 4 rapid steps. Step 1, the person stops brushing. Step 2, the reflection continues for a split second longer. Boom, that right there is the core violation of nature. The protagonist freezes in terror. Step 3, the reflection stops, slowly looks them in the eye and smiles. It gains this terrifying autonomy. And finally, step 4, the reflection presses its hands against the glass from the inside, beginning to push through. In just a few words, the psychological horror has transformed into an immediate physical threat. You are forced to just sit right there in that escalating tension.
Moving to part 3, breaking the glass barrier, the physics of fear.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the mirror is no longer just a passive, reflective surface. It's a physical, tangible barrier barely holding back a literal monster. Look at the horrific duality the author has created here. On one side, in reality, we have the terrified, completely frozen person. They are entirely stripped of their agency. But look at the other side, inside the glass. We have a smiling, highly active reflection pushing outward. The protagonist has experienced a total, sudden loss of control against an active, supernatural threat. The reflection has basically hijacked the entire narrative momentum.
Then, the text delivers this totally devastating turning point. Just as the fingers break through the glass, the lights go out. Think about the sheer sensory shock of that moment. You're watching a physical breach of reality, glass yielding to impossible fingers, and right at the absolute peak of visual terror, the visual information is completely ripped away. Pitch black darkness hits, perfectly, terrifyingly timed, with the exact second the physical barrier fails. You're left entirely blind exactly when you most need to see.
Which brings us to part 4, the ultimate role reversal, the climax in the dark.
The safety of the setup is just gone. The glass barrier is broken. The story is completely primed to deliver its final fatal blow. Imagine the pitch black, the silence, and then a raspy voice whispers, "Now it's your turn to be on that side."
Wow.
This single line masterfully executes a complete, horrifying role reversal. The entity isn't just escaping into our world, it's trading places. It implies that the life the protagonist was living was the illusion all along, or at the very least their privilege of living in the real world has just been violently revoked. The monster is now the master, and the human is the captive reflection. So, the crucial point is that structurally, this functions as the ultimate cliffhanger. It's a sudden, unresolved ending that traps the protagonist and, by extension, you, the reader, in pitch darkness with an active threat. We don't see the physical struggle. We don't get a neat resolution. The story simply cuts to black, leaving our brains to frantically fill in the terrible things happening in that dark bathroom. It's exactly why the terror lingers so effectively. The story finishes on the page, sure, but the psychological entrapment continues indefinitely in your own mind.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway from this brilliant piece of microfiction. Structure is everything. But it only works because it plays on what we all do every single day. So tonight, when you're getting ready for bed and you find yourself standing all alone in your quiet bathroom, I really want you to ask yourself, who will be waiting on the other side of your glass tonight? It's been absolutely fantastic breaking this down with you. Until our next explainer, keep your eyes on your reflection just in case.